So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Donna Kirschbaum, a graduate of the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, who emigrated here to Israel 9 years ago, where I have been active in women wage peace since its founding in 2014. But since nothing's simple about being a Jew, I also currently serve as part-time rabbi of a synagogue in northern New Hampshire. Speaking on behalf of our Shutafut team, Julia Malaga, Rabbis Jeremy Schwartz, Kevin Bernstein, and myself, and our tireless RRC intern, Sarah Brammer-Schley, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us as we launch Shutafut today, both as a web page and with the help of our panel. Before sharing a little about this initiative that has brought us together, I want to introduce our three panelists. You'll hear their bios in a few minutes more. Speaking on behalf of Jewish pluralism will be the CEO of Chidush, Uri Regev. You can find him with a bright blue background. There he is, good, pinned. I don't know if he's arrived yet because we have a number of participants already, but speaking on behalf of Shared Society Initiatives will be the CEO of Hinam, the Center for Parents, Yaron Kano, and speaking on behalf of Peace and Justice Initiatives will be one of the steering coordinators of Women Wage Peace. I feel obliged to add, as an active member, that Women Wage Peace is non-hierarchical by design, so we do not have the CEO.
Can you say that again?
Do I need anything?
Would everyone please mute? Thank you. The plan for this hour is first to acquaint you with what's happening on the American end, followed by an intro to each organization by our panelists, followed by 15 minutes in which they will answer prepared questions, followed by your questions from the chat box. Beginning then on the American end, there is Shutafut's parent, the Joint Israel Commission, which consists of 11 lay people, 5 rabbis, 1 RRC faculty member, 1 RRC student, and a partridge in a pear tree. The JIC reports to the boards of both Reconstructing Judaism and the Reconstructionist Rabbinical Association. JIC members represent a wide range of politics, personal experience, and connections with Israeli society. The Commission's goals include the generation of respectful discussion and debate, even on difficult topics, the development of resources for Reconstructionist communities and rabbis, and connecting Reconstructionist communities with Israelis who share the movement's values through our new online clearinghouse, which, as I mentioned, launched today. As you'll see at this new link, our initial list includes 11 Israeli organizations recommended by Reconstructionist rabbis living here in Israel. They are Gilat Mevakshei Derech, the Tali Education Fund, Leket Israel, Breaking the Silence, Bina, Ajik Nisped, Standing Together, and the Sulha Peace Project. It is our intention to supplement the list regularly, expanding it to include additional Israeli organizations devoted to Jewish creativity in education, worship, and culture, to environmental activism, to the rights of a number of underserved minorities and their integration into Israeli society, and more. Turning to the Israeli side of things, I'd now like to share our 3 speakers' bios. Uri Regev serves as president and CEO of Chidush for Religious Freedom and Equality, which he founded in 2009. He is also the president and CEO of its Israeli diaspora counterpart. Rabbi Regev was formerly president of the World Union for Progressive Judaism, As many of you know, that's the global umbrella organization of the progressive, reform, liberal, and Reconstructionist movements, representing more than 1,200 communities and 42 countries on 6 continents. Prior to his leadership at the World Union, he was the founding chair and later executive director and legal counsel for the Israel Religious Action Center, the IRAC, the advocacy arm of the reform movement in Israel. Rabbi Regev led its legal team to historic victories in the Israeli Supreme Court in cases involving the "who is a Jew" issue, as well as in equitable funding for reform and conservative institutions, and the fight for representation in Israel's religious councils. He has also defended the right of Shabbat observant Jews and argued other cases involving religious pluralism and equality. A graduate of Tel Aviv University Law School and the Hebrew Union College in Jerusalem, retired Lieutenant Colonel Regev served in the IDF as a legal advisor in the Gaza Strip and Sinai, and as military prosecutor for the Israeli Navy. Yaron Kanner, welcome. Yaron is the CEO of the Chinam Center for Social Tolerance, a non-political, non-sectoral organization seeking to promote tolerance and respect within Israeli society through meaningful encounters between all its diverse groups. Yaron holds a master's in law from Hebrew University and has served as a lawyer in the Jerusalem District Attorney's Office, as a journalist for the Israeli daily Yediot Achronot, and as the CEO of a radio station. He has also worked in several social change organizations, including as executive director of Panim, the Association of Jewish Renewal Organizations in Israel, and as head of the Legal Affairs Department of Tebeka, protecting the rights of new immigrants from Ethiopia and promoting their successful integration into Israeli society. Avital Brown currently serves as one of the steering coordinators of Women Wage Peace, after helping to create and lead both its strategy and resource development teams. She joined the movement, now over 45,000 strong, just after its founding 7 years ago, in the aftermath of the 2014 Gaza war, during which both of her sons and her son-in-law were on active duty. Representing Women Wage Peace, Avital has been a featured speaker on opening night of a recent J Street conference and at the Haaretz Peace Conference in New York. She is also the co-founder and co-owner of Posi Team Consulting and Training, which has been working to boost Palestinian high-tech companies and connect them with Israeli and multinational counterparts. So I'm now going to invite each of you to take 5 minutes to tell us about your organization. Uri, let's start with you and Chidush.
Yeah. Chidush is the Hebrew acronym for the words Chofesh Dat V'Shivyon, freedom of religion and equality. And what it is about is a Israel diaspora partnership that is unique in the sense that it cuts across both political lines and religious lines. And therefore, it is capable of reaching out to people on the political left and political right, and of course the center, and to all religious denominations from secular to modern Orthodox. And both these different denominations and different political outlooks are represented in our board, in our American board, and in a unique creation that I urge the rabbis and the cantors on this call to consider joining us. Les Bronstein represents Reconstructionists on the executive committee, and I'm referring to Ruach Chidush, Rabbis and Cantors for Religious Freedom and Equality in Israel. What we do is we aim at expanding the scope of implementation of the promise of Israel's Declaration of Independence for freedom of religion and conscience and for equality regardless of religion. We do that in a variety of ways, and one tangible area that I think may also be relevant to some of the individuals who make Aliyah from Reconstructionist communities is the legal advocacy. And we are in the courts on a regular basis because in the past, the political environment has not been particularly favorable. And in the present, as we will discuss, it may be somewhat more favorable, but will not necessarily be able to achieve all that it set out to achieve, or some of its members set out to achieve. And therefore, legal advocacy is extremely important vehicle to advance those liberties and to safeguard those who are whose rights and whose dignity is being eroded on the basis of religious coercion or religious discrimination. So, for instance, we have gone to court successfully in order to expand the scope of pluralistic burial, gender equality in appointing women to religious councils in Israel, and a variety of other issues that you can read about on our website, and you can see behind me the URL, chidush.org. And in addition to that, we are doing and uniquely doing surveys, public opinion surveys on all issues of religion and state in Israel, and we publicize them. A part of it is the unique, again, and I'm sorry I'm repeating that, but it's true, the Israel Annual Religion and State Index, which is a comprehensive, unparalleled survey of public opinion in Israel on all these issues, and we have been doing it since Chidush's inception in 2009. So we have a sort of 10 years, 11 years by now, worth of monitoring, so you can both see what Israelis think about all issues, Israeli Jews. We have done a study of the views of Israeli Arabs as well, but obviously the impact on issues of religion and state is primarily anchored in internal Israeli politics, in internal Jewish politics. So we are monitoring particularly the view of Israeli adult Jews on those issues, and we track the trends, the developments, the changes, and the subgroups within Israeli society and how they change their outlook on these issues. Time is out? Oh, Hatsi Daka, all right. So in short, we are part of a too small a family of organizations that are working on advancing religious freedom and equality. But at the same time, we are unique in the sense that we are the only trans-denominational, active trans-denominational, and actively limiting our focus to only issues of religious freedom and equality so that we can expand the base of support.
Thank you, Uri. Yaron, please tell us more about Chinam.
Can you hear me now? Sorry. Okay. So it's not Chinam, it's Hinam. Hinam means free. Nothing comes free in this world. So it's Hinam Center. Hinam is a pasuk from Yeshayahu. Rishon LeZion, Hine Hinam. Hinam means here they are. All the people that lives here in the country, ultra-Orthodox and the Arabs and secular and settlers and so on, they are here with us, living with us, so let's get to know them. That's the meaning of Hinam. Hinam Center is an organization who tries to promote social tolerance in Israel. This is our goal. There are many organizations in this field of shared society. Some of them try to find solutions. to problems, for example, to the relationships between Orthodox and seculars, to the Arab-Jewish conflict, and so on. But we don't deal with those issues. It's not that we don't believe in the importance of these issues, but we think that beside the willing to solve the problem, we have to establish the right atmosphere in Israel of less suspicious, less hate between the tribes and the sectors in Israel. And we believe this is the main challenge today in Israeli society. So we have two simple principles. First, we are not a political or a sectorial organization, which means we don't have any agenda beside promoting tolerance. This is very important because if you come with an agenda, you automatically block some of the communities and the sectors in Israel. It's things that you may solve them, so-called some agenda beside tolerance. And if you want to get to all the Israeli society, you have to be with no agenda. Our agenda is not to have an agenda. The second principle, which is more important, we don't believe in short meeting as a tool to promote tolerance. I remember when I was at Talmid Yeshiva in Netiv Meir, Yeshiva Tichonit in Jerusalem, once in a year, they were taking us to meet secular students from another high school. And they were prepared us. It was called Da Ma Shetashiv, know how to answer to the enemy, so-called. So you don't come to those meetings to really get to know the other. You're not open to get to know him. You just want to beat in some argument. So all the programs in Hinam Center based on process, we want to get to know the other in a deep way, always in his environment. We have some principles of how do we believe is the right way to get to know the other. For example, if you want to get to know someone, go to his place, to his village, to his neighborhood, to his community, to the settlement, and get inside his home, meet his family, meet as most as aspects as you can from his life. And if you do it right, we believe that in some point you will stop see the Arab guy, the Haredi guy, the settler, the Ethiopian, and you will see a person. And then even if you don't agree with him, and even if your way of life is totally different from him, you will not hate him. That's the whole idea of Hinam Center, to know how to disagree without hate. What we are doing in the field is two main things. First, we are taking our first program called Achi Israeli. It's a group of young people in their 20s from many identities that live together in a common for 4 months, every month in another sector. 1 month in Muslim Arab village, 1 month in settlement, usually in Gush Etzion, 1 month in Haredi community, usually in Tzfat or in Jerusalem, and 1 month in Ethiopian neighborhood. Kiryat Moshe, usually in Rehovot. Sorry? Chatzida. And so we take them to live the life of other, and through the daily life, they get to know the other. That's the first program, and we have many programs based on this program. And the other one is our Beit Midrash in Abu Ghosh. This is a place of learning. Everyone from any identity can come not just to learn, but also to teach. And through and around the learning, people getting to know the other.
Thank you, Yaron. Avital.
Hi, hello, shalom. My name is Avital Brown. I'm honored to be here with you and represent Women Wage Peace, Nashim Osot Shalom. This movement was founded in summer 2014, after Protective Age, one of the many wars in Gaza, and it's the largest grassroots movement in Israel with more than 50,000 members across the spectrum of the Israeli civil society. Our purpose is to promote a political agreement with the Palestinians involving women in the process in the spirit of United Nations Resolution 1325. So the movement is nonpartisan, like the others mentioned, and does not support any one particular solution to the conflict. Instead, it empowers women from the left, from the center, from the right, secular and religious, Jews and Arabs and Druze and Bedouin and old and young, from Tel Aviv and from the periphery, to unite and take the future of this small place into our own hands. We believe it's time for that. I am one of the 1,000 volunteers, therefore I'm not the CEO. We are a very flat movement, the women's way, women's way. So I'm a volunteer. This year I'm in the steering committee, and side by side, as Donna mentioned, I also have my company, which work with high-tech companies, and it just happened that we work with a lot of Palestinian companies from Ramallah, Shechem, and Nablus, and connect them to the Israeli high-tech companies. And up until 7 years ago, politics did not interest me. I was not an activist, but the war in Gaza, the protective edge, in 2014 did something. I would say, I always say woke me up, but it's really shook me up. I had 2 sons and a son-in-law on the front line in Gaza during the war. And I can't begin to tell you how does it feel, what I was going through. And when luckily they all came, they all returned home safely, but I then realized that it's madness. It can't be that we're doing the same thing over and over, and really it's time to stand up and say enough, enough. There must be another way. And I'm saying it as an Israeli patriot, as a Zionist, and I said just no more, it doesn't make sense. And luckily I was not the only one who said it, and just from word to mouth, just after the war, women just say, wear white, wear turquoise scarf, go on the train to Sderot, which is on the border of Gaza, and let's launch a new movement. And just by talking to friends of friends of friends of friends, more than 1,000 women went on and just washed the trains in Israel in white and turquoise. And from that day, I have to say, not only has my entire wardrobe changed to white and turquoise, but really my whole life changed, and I became an activist. And I vowed not to stop until there is an agreement with the Palestinians. We believe in women wage peace, and this is important, that the need for peace and security do not belong and cannot be monopolized by only one sector. So it's not the left goes for peace, the right go for security. No, it's nonsense. And we, the women, know it much better. And what we do together is we work, first of all, within Israel to get women to stand up and say, yes, I also think it's madness, and I want it to end. And at the same time, we're working with the decision makers. We're not advocating for a certain solution, but for a political agreement. In other words, we say, sit, talk, have some women, a lot of them, in the negotiation table. That will help, and let's resolve the conflict. I will write our website so you can follow us. I hope you heard about our March for Hope in 2016, a journey for peace.
Yes, everyone will have a chance to learn. Everyone will have a chance to learn all these things, both on our new webpage and at the end of this call. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Avital. Well, if you thought I was a taskmaster about keeping you to 5 minutes, and now I'm going to keep each of you to 2 minutes. I will start with Uri with the questions prepared by the Shutafut team. So here they are, and we'll ask Uri first. Many people are very curious about how the new government will impact Israeli society. How are you expecting it to impact the work of your organization, Kudush? And go.
In 2 minutes, first of all, yes, the new government is impacting Israel. No question about it. After 12 years of the previous coalition government headed by Netanyahu, with, from my perspective, the central role played by the ultra-Orthodox parties that basically dictated the shape of Jewish practices insofar as they depend on state recognition or state provisions. So the new government has, in the various coalition agreements that were signed as a basis for forming the new government, numerous elements that promote religious freedom and equality, as well as, and it should, I think, be of interest to the participants and to the movement, promoting much greater bond with diaspora Jewry, with the Jewish people, and much greater embracing of the pluralistic nature of all the streams and denominations, with the Minister of Diaspora Affairs announcing just a few days ago his commitment to ensure that all streams are going to be recognized equally. So far, so good. The reality is going to be tougher, much tougher, because whereas the makers of the new coalition were generous in allowing each element in the coalition in the bilateral agreements to vent out their desires and hopes for elements of religious freedom, there is an overriding agreement between Yamina and Yesh Atid, which basically says the status quo is going to go on and no legislation is going to be allowed unless it is explicitly provided for in the agreement, or everybody in the new coalition agrees on. That's going to be tough. 2 minutes are not enough to explain it, but I will say there is a change of atmosphere. There are friendly partners. There are positive statements. It's the first time in years that the Declaration of Independence and its promises are at the heart of the coalition agreements, with some specific reference to full social and political equality to all, regardless of religion, gender, or race.
Thank you. Well done. Yaron, would you tell us how you think the new government will impact Hinam?
You're muted. Muted.
Well, first I have to say that this government is for sure totally different from the last government, and it's nothing to do with your opinion, if you're left wing or right wing. In the matter of tolerance, we hear and see totally different things. You know, that's the most problematic fields in this, in the sense of tolerance, are the media and the political field. And you can hear totally different voices from this government. Just today, we had in Hinam Center 2 ministers, Minister of Culture and Sport, Hili Trooper, and Minister of Religions, Matan Kahana. And just to hear them, you can understand that something else is going to be from now. The budget for the field of shared society in Israel, from the government, the supporting, the way they are talking, it's all going to be, I believe, different. And of course, it will impact not just Hinam Center, but all the field, all the organizations and the actors in this field of shared society in Israel.
Thank you, Yaron. Before Avital begins, I'd like to remind you that your questions are most welcome in the chat. Sarah Bramershley, our tireless intern, will be collating them as best she can, passing them on to me for the final 15 minutes. Avital, here are your 2 minutes.
So actually, the new government is actually reflects our movement, okay? The right, left, center, Jews and Arabs. religious and secular. So we will know that they will have a hard time working together, but listening to the different voices and raising their red lights. We just hope, as citizens, first of all, that this government will function, because we need governance in Israel that we haven't had it for 2 years. As about our mission to promote a political agreement with the Palestinians. So again, we might look like that we're falling into the status quo that was mentioned here. No annexation, but no negotiation. But we are holding a panel actually tomorrow with a politician, ex-member of Knesset, all women wage peace members. And as a spoiler, because I'm the steering committee, I talked to them and they said that, you know what, there is, this government is going to work on confidence building measures, okay? So it's going to go, it's going to do something to change the atmosphere. And we believe, and I didn't have time to talk about it, our next big project of Women Wage Peace is to get the Palestinian and Israeli leaders sit together and sign an agreement. And we have a whole road map to get there. And we believe that with this government, we will be able to work and get a few subjects ready for signing. So we are optimistic.
Thank you, Avital. Thank you, all three. Uri, let's return to you for the second of the three questions. What do you feel hopeful about when it comes to strengthening efforts for equality and justice in Israel?
Well, I alluded to it a little bit before, and I think that what I feel most comfortable about is a combination of anticipating some progress on the political side. For instance, as you know, Rabbi Attorney Gilad Kariv, a former director of the Reform Movement in Israel, has been appointed and started yesterday as chair of the Knesset Law and Constitution Committee. And that holds a tremendous importance in terms of the legislative process, in spite of the obstacles that I mentioned before. And so is the Minister of Diaspora Affairs that I mentioned, Nachman Shai, who, it's not widely known, but his father, his late father, was one of the founders of Harel congregation in Jerusalem, certainly sympathetic to the cause of pluralism and religious equality. But the other side, of course, is going to be the legal advocacy, because with all the internal contradictions and the tremendous counter pressure. I mean, again, I mentioned Rabbi Kariv, the former deputy minister of education, one of the leaders of the Ashkenazi ultra-Orthodox party, Rabbi Meir Porush, just called him, or basically compared him and the reform movement as a whole to a pig today. And this is just one of numerous assaults, the ugliest assaults. So definitely Yaron Kaner has his work cut out for him. But so long as these counter pressures exist, as these internal contradictions exist between Yamina on the one hand, which basically is a modern Orthodox, but Orthodox party, and the liberal elements in the coalition, there will be need to rely on the courts, and a number of areas that we have been litigating show progress. We are going to be able to make headway with them. And the good thing about the new coalition is they won't be easily able to undo those legal advancements through counter legislation. So all in all, I think that there is going to be progress. It's not going to be a revolution anytime soon, but it certainly is going to help our work.
Thank you. Yaron, what makes you hopeful about the strengthening of equality and justice here?
Yes, well, equality is, part of shared society. If you live in shared society and the atmosphere in your society is healthy and people respect each other, so it affects equality and justice in the society. So that's what we are trying to achieve, and I'm very hopeful about it, because you know the Black Days that we knew just a few weeks ago brought people to think that they have to do something, and we can see the fruit of it just those days. You know, this morning, more than 200 people gathered in Hinam Center and decided to establish a union for all the organizations, for the Jewish federations, funds, and minister's office that deal with those issues. So you can see the passion in those people's eyes, and you can understand that something is going to be different from now. They are going not to sit quiet in their homes, but they are going to do something. The civil society is going to act from now.
Thank you again, Avital. Before you begin, since we're friends,
Yeah,
I feel like
and
I
I
can
changed. Wait a second. I have to move here. This is the picture that they cut for my presentation today, and I deliberately gave a picture of me and Kifaya, my friend. So now you see the whole picture, and why I'm so happy. So talking about hopeful hope and equality and justice, I want to highlight the fact that the first time there is an Arab party in the coalition is huge. I don't know how, if people understand how huge it is, because it forces both Jews and Arabs to take responsibility together for government decisions. It's not they decide, it's now their part. And I think it's huge. And in Women Wage Peace, we walk the talk of equality. We have lots of Arab citizens of Israel in the movement, but not only as just members, but as key members, as leaders in the steering committee and in all other committees that we do. And after the horrible incident of hatred in Israel in the May riots, mostly done by extremists, we must say, we decided in Women Wage Peace that we make sure we appear together, Jewish and Arab women, okay? So we can do shopping together. We go to restaurants in places that people are afraid to go now because of the riots. We go to the beach together. We just simply live together. We walk our talk. And as women, and we're talking about equality, we're very hopeful now to see that there are more ministers, women than ever, and there are women in the security cabinet, with 3 women there, and we're very happy about it. So yeah, we are very hopeful that it's getting to the right place. Lots of work to do though.
Thank you. I want to remind everyone that you will have a chance to hear more about these speakers and details about these organizations, not only from the new website, but Maurice will be sending a follow-up email to everyone who's registered. I also want to say, in response to one of the questions that came through in the chat, that it was my decision as moderator that the woman on our panel would have the last word. So that was very much by design. So, Uri, back to you. What opportunities do you see for American Jews to connect with your organization, with Chidush, either from a distance in America or when traveling to Israel?
Well, so first of all, I just posted a link to the vision statement on Israel as a Jewish and democratic state. Already some 2,000 individuals, rabbis, leaders, including leaders of the Reconstructionist movement, have signed on to it. And that's the easiest and simplest way for individuals in your communities to stand up and be counted as supporting the alternative paradigm of religious freedom and equality in Israel. So that's costless, that's effortless, and that's the minimum thing that anyone who is interested in supporting this cause can do. But to the rabbis, educators, and cantors here, we provide analysis, we provide surveys of public opinion in Israel, and so often you hear, well, Israel is a democracy. That's not how, the Israelis think or whatever. We give you the true scoop of where Israelis are and what they believe on those issues. In the case that you have individuals in your communities that encounter problems and need help, reach out to us. We'll gladly assist them in advice and, if necessary, representing them before the courts. Who is a Jew issues were mentioned. And this is just one of the many things that we can do to assist individuals. When your groups come to Israel, first of all, I'll be happy to meet with them, but more specifically, make every group reach out and meet with one Israeli policymaker, one Knesset member who is not, the one from the group that you take for granted their support, and make them know that you care. Ask them the tough questions. Tell them that this is important to you. And similarly, if you hold events in your congregations, in your regions, or you wish to hold a Zoom program, I'll gladly come and meet with your Israel committees, with the whole congregation. I'll speak to you on via Zoom. It's proven to be very, very successful. Our website basically includes everything you ever wanted to know and probably more on anything and everything having to do with religion and state in Israel, religious freedom and equality. It's not a fundraising-based website. It is an informative website. And the last thing is sign up to get our newsletter. We send, again, not a fundraising newsletter, an informative newsletter every other week, which will keep you updated and keep you updated on things that don't usually appear in the headlines of the media that you read. And that way you'll know what's happening on the front lines in the area of religion and state. And occasionally you'll be invited to take action and to join together with us and with rabbis and cantors for religious freedom and equality in Israel, that already includes hundreds of rabbis and some cantors in mostly North America. So there is a lot that you can connect to, as they say, if you only will it.
Thank you, Uri. Yaron, how can Jews abroad connect with Hinam?
Well, two ways to do it. First, we have a program called Hinam Fellows. It's a group of people from many identities. 20 people. Always there is an Arab guy, a Druze lady, ultra-Orthodox, Ethiopian, secular Orthodox, and so on. And they cannot go as the younger people in our programs for months into the Israeli society, but they are going every month for a day or two to another community, settlers, ultra-Orthodox, Arabs, Ethiopians, and the state of Tel Aviv, which is also, if you know Israel, a community for itself. And after they finish the journey in Israel, they are going as a group to host in one Jewish community in America. And they do it in Hinam way. They don't go to a hotel. They're not going to hotel, but they stay at people's homes. And they get to know them through their daily life. They go to work with them, to the synagogue. They do things with them. They go to, they're hanging up with the family, going to shopping and so on. And this is a great opportunity for the community to get to know the real Israeli society, because they can see many identity from the Israeli society. And of course, we invite the people from the community also to come to Israel. We can host them in Abu Ghosh, in our Bet Midrash. We are doing it all the time. We have groups from United States all the time. And people that are going to be part of this program, Hinam Fellows, are invited also to be hosted in the people houses of the members of Hinam Fellows that they hosted before in their homes. So it's a combined program that's you can be also a part of the Bet Midrash or part of Hinam Fellows.
Thank you. Avital, How can Jews abroad
Yeah,
take
first
part?
of all, I'm so happy that people are writing me the direct messaging. Yeah, I participate in the March of Hope. So, so thank you, Jane. Yeah, lots of ways. First of all, it's the simplest one. Please follow us and share our news on the social media. We are on. We have a beautiful, very informative website that is also in English. We have Facebook for in Hebrew, but for supporters in English. We're on Twitter, we are on Instagram, we are all by volunteers. So every click, every share, every like that you do and send it and share it with your congregation will spread the world of peace and to the world. And that's very easy. Like Uri said, we would like the decision maker to hear about us. We are a buzzer in their ear. So whenever a politician come and visit your congregation, or when you come to Israel and you see a politician, please ask them about women wage peace and how do they involve women in negotiation, and when is this conflict going to end. Just ask them, mentioning us, so they will know that we're everywhere and we're not letting them go away without it. Come visit us. You can, as they said, people said here, you can invite us. We are going places in the world and install hope in the Jewish community that we realize it's needed more than even in Israel. And they save the date, September 22nd. This year, we're going to launch our new project, Partners for Peace, with our Palestinian partners. And as I said, we're going to prepare all that is needed. We're even going to get nice pens, maybe pink pens, to sign the agreement in a year from now. So lots of ways. Follow us. Thank you. Toda.
Thank you. I'm actually going to start with a question. You're welcome to put them in the chat. I'm going to start with one that our Shutafut team, working committee, was going to ask, and then decided we better ask those other three. So what parallels do you see between your work and the work of reconstructing Judaism, whose vision is of a diverse, connected, and engaged Judaism that meaningfully contributes to a just and compassionate world? I don't expect you to be experts on reconstructing Judaism or on reconstructionism, but if you can share some thoughts about that. And this time I will leave it open for any of you to answer in any order.
If it weren't a somewhat questionable cliche, I would have started by saying that some of my best friends are Reconstructionists. I have a lot of empathy and appreciation, and sometimes admiration for the work of Reconstructionist Judaism, and of course for the historic and spiritual and scholarly work of Mordechai Kaplan and those that came in his stead. So the values, the principles of reconstructing Judaism, I think are very necessary and valuable for the challenges that Israel is facing as it is forging its Jewish and democratic identity. It's ironic to realize that at 73, Israel is still looking at the ABCs of what does it mean to be a Jewish and democratic state. So I see a lot of parallels. I offered my assistance in terms of individual help and in terms of advancing recognition to the extent that the movement decides to establish itself in Israel, sort of independently, helping move the recognition and the privileges forward to the best of my ability. But in the meantime, I suggest that we just open up a dialogue line, and at least in the area I am focusing on issues of religion and state, of religious freedom and equality. I am not delving in the important areas that many of you care about, of peace and the security issues, etc., etc. But on anything and everything that have to do with religion and state, see me as your home away from home.
Thank you.
Well,
Avital? Or... Please, Yaron.
well, yes. Well, I think that's in Am Center, we see as you diversity as a value. And we think it's very important to give every voice, every man his place. And that's what we are doing in our Bet Midrash. And I think it's very similar to your values because, you know, every Bet Midrash has its own identity. And it's this identity, this sector that this Bet Midrash belongs to is like a doorkeeper. You know, in the time of Hillel, the doorkeepers charge money from people who wanted to get into the Bet Midrash. Today, it's not money, but the identity of the Bet Midrash, the fact that it belongs to some sector, there are Bet Midrash of Haredim, of Chardalim, of Reformim, of Pluralistim, Datim Leumim. This identity, sometimes it's like a doorkeeper. It's blocking people to get inside. And even if they get inside, they don't feel that it's their home. They feel like a guest. So our Bet Midrash has no identity like the organization. And in this matter, we welcome anyone to be part of the Bet Midrash in an equal way. And I think it's very similar to your values.
And now you're muted. And Donna, you okay?
Yes, did you want to take a stab at this?
We welcome everyone that wants to end the conflict here. And we work and I do want to say it's not directly to the question, but one of the things when on preparation for our Partner for Peace thing that we have realized that religious leaders should be involved, and it did not happen in Oslo, it did not happen in the past, and I'm not getting into what stream or who, everyone, but we need to hear it also from religious leaders, both, you know, not only in Judaism, also in Islam. And this is one thing that we're visiting 1 week in an imam and another week an Orthodox rabbi and reform. And yeah, so we are going to explore how the diversity that you're on, and I would love to get connected to your organization if women can go to the Beit Midrash.
I just said anyone can go.
Anyone, okay. So I see a lot of comment, the diversity. It's so important to listen to others and not to agree and not to influence, but to understand where they come from. Because and I say, as a women wage peace, I don't believe that there is any Palestinian woman, even if they put her on TV screaming and shouting, yes, my child is a shaheed, I don't believe her. And I don't believe that a religious woman, and I don't believe that a woman from the settlement, I don't believe that she wants peace less than I do. Okay? And now I need to listen to her and to see how do we go about that we are putting the solution to the, unfortunately right now, men to sign. Not for long, but right now.
Thank you. Thank you all. Maybe we'll have one more question for you. You talked about some of the things your organizations have done. Is there one particular success that meant so much to you personally that picked you up in a moment of despair that you could share with us? Something quite personal that was quite personal to you?
Well, maybe I'll begin. It's not something that we did, but it's something that we own. Last year, the president of Israel, Rivlin, gave us the Unity Prize. And for a new organization like us, it's very important to have a backup from the House of the President. He's now leaving in the end of the month, replacing by Bougie Herzog. And it was wonderful. You know, this act, which is just a symbolic act, but it gave you a statue, it's opened doors in the government, and it's found. And we were very proud that we won this prize.
Thank you, Yaron. Uri or Avital?
Yes, so I'll speak quicker to manage to mention two. So one has to do with gender equality that I mentioned. We have been monitoring for years the issue of women participating in the leadership of Israel's religious councils, 130 religious councils that expend hundreds of millions of shekels to provide religious services to the Jewish community. And we have been able to document the negligible, pitiful, narrow representation. And after threatening to go to court, collaborating with others, etc., the Attorney General issued an instruction to the Minister of Religious Services to, moving forward, appoint at least 30% women to the makeup, to the panels leading Israeli religious councils. And actually today we sent a letter on behalf of Chidush and the Israel Women's Network and the Reckman Center for Advancement of Women's Status at Bar Ilan University and the Naamat organization and another organization to the new Minister of Religious Services and encouraged him to move this forward, because we have a case in court coming up to demand the full implementation of that commitment. And the second is, for decades, military burials, which is a painful element in the life of Israel. Military burials were governed practically solely by the Orthodox military rabbinate. We challenged the IDF, we had to go to court over it, and the rules of the army have changed to the point of they will be inviting, offering those bereaved families at this terrible moment the option of a military burial that will honor the life and the beliefs of the fallen soldier and the family, to the point that in ruling the case, the court said, the Supreme Court went as far as to say, and even if the family chose a female Reform rabbi, the army will have to honor that and have that female Reform rabbi conduct the military burial. That's really a revolution. I hope it won't be necessary, but if it is, that's the kind of precedent-setting areas, and there are quite a number of others.
Thank you. That does sound like a success. Avital, do you have something quick and personal for us?
Just to anecdote, last year, that first of all, women wage peace were being granted a permanent NGO consultative status by the United Nations, which enable us to participate there and to host panels there. And secondly, one of the things that we did, and I did not have to mention all the things that we did, is we, after a lot of research, we wrote and suggest a bill that is called a political alternative bill for resolving conflicts. And after 2 years that we've been pushing it, and every general and every politician behind said, you are right. And we saw in the COVID how decision-making is so wrong. And we need to לעשות סדר in this. So I'm glad to tell you that member of Knesset Emily Muati said, this is going to be the first law that I'm going to pass in the government. And we are crossing our fingers because we know their policy there of status quo and no changing, but she's going to push it and we are behind her. Many thousands of women that wants the decision maker to think first, how do we make peace before, or how we can solve the problem peacefully before we go to war. And this is so motherhood, right? This is so telling our kids, you know, go to your room, talk about it, stop fighting. So we have to tell it to the journals as well.
Thank you, and thank you all. We're going to end to respect the time. Keep in mind that Maurice will be sending you a follow-up email and that our site is launched, the webpage is launched on the Reconstructing Judaism site, reconstructingjudaism.org/Shutafut. Of course, I also want to state the obvious that these organizations and many others are doing work that's important to Jews in the diaspora. And obviously all these organizations could use support. You'll be able to find out how, both on the webpage and from Maurice's follow-up email. So I hope this call has been a first step in helping to lessen the frustration, fear, alienation, or downright heartbreak that progressive Jews worldwide have been feeling vis-a-vis any number of current Israeli realities. I want to remind you that these organizations have all agreed beforehand to be your partners, and I hope you will start Shutafut with them. Thank you all again, and good night from Israel.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Laila
Thank you,
Tov.
everyone.